ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD calls ගන්න SLT phone එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Making headlines on First at 9. Wrath of nature. Adverse weather leaves over 120,000 people affected, with 13 persons losing their lives.
So people are advised to still remain until further notice by the disaster management officials at the ground level.
Coming 24 hours, KNP received 100 to 150 millimeters rainfall.
Found him. Interpol confirms that Arjuna Mahendran is in Singapore. PTL duo Aloysius and Palisena further remanded. Stock market regulation. Finance Minister appoints Ranil Vijayasinghe as chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. In the name of development, China insists that the country has loaned $15 billion to Sri Lanka by end 2017. No go. US President Donald Trump says the summit with the North Korean leader will not go ahead.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chan. I want your top story tonight. The adverse weather conditions prevailing over Sri Lanka continues to devastate people's lives, with the latest death toll being 13. In addition, over 120,000 people across 19 districts are affected. Department of Irrigation, however, indicates that several major rivers which were at flood levels earlier are currently decreasing. Despite that possible reprieve, people continue to feel the effects of the heavy downpour and its after effect, with the bridge linking Kaduvela and Biyagama will be closed from 10 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow as a precautionary measure.
19 districts have been affected due to the prevailing inclement weather. Accordingly, 125,954 people belonging to 32,136 families have been affected, leaving 13 dead. Meanwhile, 2,999 properties have sustained damages thus far. The area of Kalupalama in Sedavatta of Kalaniya is submerged owing to River Kalani breaching its bank. Meanwhile, Colombo-Biyagama road continues to be closed from the area of Pattivela in Kalaniya. According to police, the bridge linking Kaduvela and Biyagama will be closed from 10 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow as a precautionary measure. A meeting between the divisional secretaries of low-lying areas along River Kalani, falling under the Colombo and Gampaha district, had a meeting with Minister of Disaster Management Duminda Dissanayaka today. Many villages including Neluwa, Tavalama and Lankagama are flooded due to incessant rains. Several areas of the Rangoda and Udugama routes in Baddegama were also seen inundated. The water levels of River Ging, which indicated 4.5 feet by last evening, has gone down to 4 feet by this morning. Cracks started appearing on the main bridge in Baddegama of Gaul due to adverse weather. In the meantime, a rescue operation was carried out to save 3 locals whose fishing boat capsized in the seas of Hikkaduwa in Sinigama last evening. A 50-year-old man died after his boat toppled in the area of Kiriyalla in West Dodampe, which was inundated owing to heavy rains. The deceased has been identified as a father of 2 and his remains were handed over to his family. The floods that affected the areas of Alapatha, Ratnapura, Kiriyalla, Ayagama, Kuruvita and Ahaliyagoda in the Ratnapura district still remain the same. Accordingly, all by-roads that provide access to the Ratnapura-Panadura main road are inundated. Owing to heavy rains, the river Kalu has reached spill level. Water level in Martupana in Anguruvatota has increased to 11.3 feet. With the rising water levels of the river Kalu, many houses in Anguruvatota, Maduravala, Tebuana, Veravatta and Martupana are inundated. Water levels in Bulat Sinhala, Paragoda and Molkava is yet to come down, while Mathugama Horana main road along with its byroads are also submerged. Due to incessant rains in the district of Putlam, 6 out of 21 spill gates of Tabbo Reservoir were opened this morning, releasing 1,328 cubic feet of water per second through each gate. The Divisional Secretary of Karuwala Gaswawa, however, says that people living in low-lying areas of the Tabbo Reservoir are not at risk. In the meantime, Sri Lanka Navy rescued 3 youths swept away by the floods in the areas between Madampe and Mahava on the Chilau-Colombo main road last evening. Due to incessant rains in the district of Kurunagala, a building of Dharmaratna Primary School in Kuliyapitiya sustained damages. According to the Department of Irrigation, several major rivers which were at flood levels earlier are currently decreasing.
There's some good news for people in certain districts as the Disaster Management Centre today lifted the red notice from certain areas. The DMC, however, said that the warning will continue to be in effect in other districts including Ratnapura, Kegol, Nuvarelia, Kalutara and Gaul until told otherwise. In the meantime, the Department of Meteorology said that more than 100 millimeters of rain is expected over the next 24 hours.
Today also rain is expected as per the meteorology department, and more than 100 to 150 rainfall is expected. Still the flood condition is having in Kaluganga area. So last night we evacuated the communities who living very close to the Kalu River. National Building and Research Organization, they have issued a warning over the possibility of landslide as a red alert last night. So in Ratnapura, Kegol, Nuvarelia, Kalutara and Gaul district were notified with that particular notification. So we have moved that some communities to safer locations. There are spill gates open in Kukulegang Reservoir, Udawalawa, Lakshapana, Daduroya, and Upper Kotmale and Rajangani and Tabbova. So at downstream, people will be advised to be very vigilant with that prevailing situation. So still the irrigation department is continuously monitoring the situation, and relief missions started and going on. For the moment in Ratnapura district, 37 boats been deployed, 66 boats, catamarans been deployed as well. So in Kalutara district has 71 boats and 102 catamarans been deployed for all upcoming response mechanisms. 117 call center number is completely open, but now the river levels of Kalaniganga is a little bit getting normalized, and so people are advised to still remain until further notice by the disaster management officials at the ground level.
NBRO advised to relocate 29 people from Kalutara district, 2 families from Kegol district, 5 families from Nuvarelia district, 16 families from Ratnapura district, altogether 57 families we have to relocate in future. Compared with the last 3 days, Kalanikanga water level down up to 12 meters from 18 meters. And also the Disaster Management Relief Service Center already allocated 54 million, especially for cooked meals and dry ration, other essential services. And also Ministry has allocated sufficient amount of money, especially for funeral expenses.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka, meanwhile, has decided to provide legal assistance to those who are affected by adverse weather conditions prevailing in the country. Speaking to media, the president of the Bar Association, U.R. De Silva, said that free legal clinics scheduled to be conducted in view of the National Law Week this year are also postponed.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has decided to provide assistance on areas related to legal matters to those who have been affected by the adverse weather conditions prevailing in the country. Because of that, we decided to postpone the 26th and 27th program, that is the free legal aid program, and then we want to get more details from the people who have suffered because of the prevailing weather conditions. These services will be provided in consultation with local government authorities and the Sri Lanka Police, and then we want to help the people who have suffered with regard to the floods. If they have lost their valuable documents, what we want to do is we want to help them to get those documents back. Bar Association will come forward and provide free legal aid services to those people who wants to get those things done. Apart from that, if they have lost their houses and buildings, and if they want to claim some money compensation, if they need some documentation to be done, we are hoping to have this particular free legal aid services on somewhere on July.
The Attorney General's Department today informed the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court that former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran is in Singapore. The AG's department stated that this has been confirmed by Interpol's Singapore branch, which has notified the Criminal Investigations Department in Sri Lanka.
Interpol has issued red notice for the arrest of former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, a Sri Lankan-born Singapore citizen, in connection with the investigations being carried out by the CID regarding the Central Bank Treasury bond scam. Additional Solicitor General Yasantha Kodagoda, on behalf of the Attorney General's Department today, informed the Colombo Fort Magistrate Lanka Jayaratna that Interpol's Singapore branch has notified the Criminal Investigations Department in Sri Lanka that the former Central Bank Governor is in Singapore. The Colombo Fort Magistrates Court issued an arrest warrant on the former Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, who is named as the first defendant in the bond scam case, on the assessment that he is absconding after considering a request made by the CID and the Attorney General's Department. Arjuna Mahendran has been charged with criminal breach of trust for allegedly providing confidential information of the central bank to Perpetual Treasuries Limited, a primary dealer connected to his son-in-law Arjuna Aloysius. In the meantime, the owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjuna Aloysius, and CEO Kasun Palisena were further remanded until the 7th of June, when the case was taken up today.
In the meantime, the appointment of parliamentarians who maintain telephone communications with officials of Perpetual Treasuries Limited to the COPE was also discussed in Parliament today.
We handed over a document to Nimal Siripal de Silva with the agreement of the President Sirisena, saying the 16 parliamentarians who crossed over to sit in the opposition need to represent the working committee. But I think it was not given attention. Prior to this, I paid attention to this matter and the leader of the alliance agreed to hand over a list of names. Our country didn't have a tradition of appointing the same committee for public accounts and public enterprises after the proroguement of the parliament. That decision was taken at the party leaders' meeting unanimously. According to the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry, some of the COPE members are accused of maintaining telephone communications with the main suspect in the bond scam. We made a complaint with the Bribery and Corruption Commission and they are carrying out investigations about this issue. In such a backdrop, we request that you do not appoint such parliamentarians to the COPE. I would like to know if such members are appointed for the COPE. We discussed it during the party leaders' meeting. The common stance on the issue was, although there are such accusations and cases are filed with the FCID, if we remove such parliamentarians, we will run out of members of the committee. If such an accusation is proved, the government can then take a decision and they don't have to remove such members. Honourable Speaker, there is more of an ethical issue about this matter. Therefore, I don't think it is necessary to appoint such members if they communicated with the accused when internal investigations were ongoing.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe insists that parliamentarians of the joint opposition have become puppets as a result of former military officers making its decisions. The Premier expressed these views while addressing a function at the United National Party headquarters, Sirikota, today.
Minister Navin Dissanayake, who was elected as the national organizer of the United National Party, assumed duties at the party headquarters this morning. The occasion was graced by various party officials including Leader Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and General Secretary Minister Akhila Viraj Karyavasam.
To a certain extent, our party suffered a setback. We do not deny this. If we are to move forward as a team, we have to work as a team. We can achieve victory only if we work for a common agenda and not individually. We have created a strategy in order to achieve victory. This has also been approved by relevant parties. As long as we have a common voice and work together, achieving victory will not be a difficult task. Here is the next generation of leaders who will represent the party. we can also expect a new set of leaders in the future as well. Who are the new faces of the Flowerbud Party? They are retired military officers. Are they trying to create a new regiment? They are the people who wanted to create a Rajapaksa regime. No matter how much they shout in parliament, they are just puppets of these retired military officers.
The joint opposition says that if President Maithripala Sirisena intends to become the next presidential candidate, he should join hands with the opposition and should seek blessings from former President Mahinda Rajapaksa. He made this comment at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Ranil Wickremesinghe should resign as the Prime Minister if the country is to move forward. Duminda Dissanayake should resign from his post as General Secretary if the party is to move forward. The duty of choosing the next presidential candidate should lie in the hands of Mahinda Rajapaksa since he cannot contest. The duty of choosing the next presidential candidate should lie in the hands of Mahinda Rajapaksa since he cannot contest. If the candidate chosen by Mahinda Rajapaksa receives the blessings of President Maithripala Sirisena, we can gain some extra votes. Currently, the choice of the people is the choice of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Mahinda Rajapaksa මාත්‍යා කියන කෙනාට දෙනවා කියන එක තමයි. මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමාට ඊළඟ පාර ජනාධිපති වෙන්න ඕනේ නම්
If President Maithripala wants to become the next presidential candidate, he should immediately remove the General Secretary of the party and approve the Central Committee proposal, as we say. He should join hands with the opposition as soon as possible and should seek the blessings of Mahinda Rajapaksa.
ආශිර්වාදය ලබා ගන්න අපේක්ෂක ගුණ ඇතුළු වෙන්නේ.
Former Minister of Finance parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayake laments that he became a sacrifice in bringing in the government of good governance to power. The parliamentarian expressed his thoughts on the matter while addressing a ceremony organised to open the Mets Under 7 housing complex built for persons with meagre facilities. It was worked off under the patronage of both President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe today.
When casting the mind back to the October of 2014, there were issues pertaining to not only the election, but who would actually do it. The victory attained with the President and the Prime Minister amid death threats at a juncture when democracy was buried should be proudly reminded. That said, however, in attempting to implement the good governance, it was I who became the sacrifice. There is no point in saying we don't have talented people, and also it's pointless to be afraid of the opposition.
On Tuesday, professional climber Johan Pires became the second Sri Lankan to successfully summit the world's tallest mountain, Mount Everest. However, it is no secret that achieving such a feat is no easy task. First at 9 managed to speak to Pires, who is currently at a base camp close to Mount Everest, to know what it is like to stand atop the tallest mountain in the world.
On the 22nd of May at 5:55 a.m. Nepal time, professional climber Johan Pires was able to fulfill his lifelong dream of being able to successfully reach the summit of Mount Everest. Pires made his first journey to Mount Everest in April of 2016 with fellow climber Jayantikuru Utumpala, who became the first Sri Lankan to summit the peak. However, scaling any peak above 8,000 feet in altitude is no easy feat. Speaking exclusively to First at 9, Johan Pires spoke on his experience as he waits to return back home to Sri Lanka first of next month.
I just completed climbing Mount Everest, as you all know, and it was a lifelong journey for me. It was a dream of mine, and if you remember in 2016, Jayanti and we both attempted Mount Everest, and she summited and I had to turn back just 400 meters away from the summit because I ran out of oxygen. But it was my dream to go back and complete what I started, because I think we all give up on our dreams once we have a bit of failure somewhere down the line. So I wanted to go back, I wanted to complete the journey, and I wanted to take the Sri Lankan flag as a Sri Lankan to the top of the world, and it meant a lot to me, and I think it meant a lot to everybody who was with me as well. It was an amazing feeling once I got there this time to the top. It was different. I had actually forgotten how hard the journey was because I was so excited about coming back here, but it was such a tough journey. It was such a tough journey, and coming down was even harder than going up. I just came down 24 hours ago to base camp, and today they've actually transported us out. We haven't got back to Kathmandu as yet. I'm still trying to get there. That's why you can see the scruffy, terrible look that I have on at the moment. We're still trying to get back to civilization, but at least we're back to green, to where there's life. But the journey was just amazing to stand on top of the world and realize that you really are standing on top of the world.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaraweera has appointed Ranil T. Vijayasinghe as the new chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Sri Lanka with effect from today. Other board members include Chandrakumar Ramachandra, Janta Fernando, Arjuna Herath, Rajiv Amarasuriya and Majula Hiranya de Silva. Vijayasinghe currently serves as an independent non-executive director and chairman of the Board Audit Committee of the Bank of Ceylon and also as a commissioner of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Vijayasinghe has over 31 years of national and international professional work experience in accounting, auditing and consulting. He was appointed to the board as a non-executive director in February 2015. Through a recent gazette, President Maithripala Sirisena removed the SEC from National Policies and Economic Affairs Ministry, headed by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and placed it under the Finance and Mass Media Ministry. Ambassador of China to Sri Lanka, Cheng Zhuyan, reveals that as of the end of 2017, Chinese companies had completed more than $15 billion worth of infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. Addressing the media for the first time since his posting in Colombo, the ambassador added that party-to-party diplomacy is important in enhancing China-Sri Lanka relations, moving forward with the One Road, One Belt initiative.
A symposium titled From Millennium to the New Era, Jointly Built the Belt and Road and Embraced the Sri Lankan Dream was held at the Embassy of China yesterday. The event was graced by the Ambassador of China, Cheng Zhuyan, and Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade, Manik Samaravikrama.
By the end of 2017, Chinese companies has contributed $15 billion for infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has a superior geographic location and a broad development prospect. The Sri Lankan government and its people have shown the Sri Lankan dream of achieving international progress, economic development, ethnic unity and religious harmony. This is consistent with the idea of Belt and Road Initiative. Being one of the first countries to open up to the BRI, Sri Lanka is an important partner with China in the Belt and Road joint construction. We would like to work with our Sri Lankan friends to further enhance mutual trust, respect and support to implement the mega projects of Colombo Port City as well as the Hambantota Port and the Industrial Park to boost the economic development of the island nation for early harvest of joint construction of the BRI and bring mutual tangible benefits to the two countries and its people. In order to build a new form of international relations in a better way, General Secretary Xi Jinping also proposed to develop a new model of party-to-party relations. Party diplomacy is also a very important part of China-Sri Lanka relations. While the Chinese People's Communist Party has been maintaining friendly relations with all parties in Sri Lanka in the new era, we also wish to strengthen exchanges and cooperation with Sri Lanka's political parties so we can respect and learn from each other.
人民幸福安康，谢谢大家。
We in Sri Lanka are looking forward to the Belt and Road Initiative of China, and through this initiative we look forward to improving the living standards of our people. China is willing to help us, to assist us, to improve our country and improve our economy. We are well aware that before long, at least by before 2050, China will be the major economic power in the world. I don't think that anyone can stop that. And working with them very closely, it will only help us and help the people of Sri Lanka. And that is more the reason why we are even negotiating a free trade agreement with China. And I hope that we will be able to conclude a mutually beneficial agreement in the near future.
At the media briefing, the ambassador of China was quizzed on loans provided to Sri Lanka.
In recent years, China has provided Sri Lanka with substantial financial support to Sri Lankan national construction projects, which are required by the Sri Lankan government in accordance with development needs. These loans have been assessed by relevant Chinese authorities and agreements through consultation. As for the commercial agreements and loan agreements, they are in line with the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution and shared benefits. In particular, a large number of China's loans to Sri Lanka were concessionary loans with relatively low interest rates and a long repayment period, and some with grace period. There are about 6,000 Chinese workers and managers in Sri Lanka in various projects. As for the specific number, I would like to stress that those Chinese technical personnel or managers are actually recruited taking into consideration the size of Sri Lanka and to fulfill the construction of relevant projects.
Sri Lankan shares rose slightly today after posting their lowest close in more than 1 week in the previous session as investors picked up beverage stocks while block deals lifted turnover. The all-share price index ended 0.1% firmer at 6,472.21, edging from its lowest close since the 15th of May hit on Wednesday. Let's cross over to Nishantha Batagalla from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
The turnover was Rs 652.7 million with 53.6 million shares changing hands in 3,469 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was Rs 3,022 billion. Foreign purchases for the day was 408 million, while foreign sales stood at 108 million. There were 2 trades on the crossings board with RIL Properties and Commercial Bank shares trading.
Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. US President Donald Trump has cancelled a summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, saying the world has lost a great opportunity for lasting peace. He said his decision was because of tremendous anger and open hostility in a recent North Korean statement. North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister today condemned a media interview by US Vice President Mike Pence in which he compared the North to Libya.
A senior North Korean official dismissed remarks by US Vice President Mike Pence as stupid, casting further uncertainty about a planned meeting between the two countries' leaders. North Korea's Vice Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui said Pyongyang would not beg for dialogue and warned of a nuclear showdown if diplomacy failed. Cho Son-hui's comments came days after Pence warned that North Korea may end like Libya, where then-leader Muammar Gaddafi was killed by rebels in 2011 after renouncing nuclear weapons 8 years earlier. In recent days, both sides have said that the 12 June Trump-Kim summit could be delayed or even called off. Pyongyang has insisted it would not give up nuclear weapons unilaterally.
Meanwhile, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini has set out several conditions for staying in the nuclear deal with world powers. The conditions include protecting Iran oil sales and safeguarding trade.
Since campaigning to be president, Donald Trump has been heavily critical of the deal, and earlier this month he threatened economic sanctions on companies which did business with both Washington and Tehran. The UK, France and Germany meanwhile have been trying to keep the deal alive, and Iran says it will restart its nuclear program unless its concerns are met. Now Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini has set out several conditions for staying in the nuclear deal with world powers. Among the main conditions, he says that European powers should protect Iranian oil sales from the US sanctions and continue buying Iranian crude. The Supreme Leader also demands that European banks should safeguard trade with Iran while the UK, France and Germany should pledge not to seek negotiations on Iran's ballistic missile program and regional activities, both demanded by Washington. If the three countries are unable to meet these demands, Iran would resume its enrichment of uranium.
Sri Lanka's captain in Test format, Dinesh Chandimal, is optimistic about the upcoming Sri Lanka tour of West Indies set to begin on the 6th of June. Speaking to Derana, he added that he is hopeful of successfully facing the tournament.
The Sri Lankan team, selected to play in the Test tournament consisting of 3 matches against the West Indies, observed religious activities at Sri Lanka cricket yesterday. The Sri Lankan team is set to leave for West Indies tomorrow. We have prepared well for this tournament. The entire team participated in a coaching camp in Kandy. All our players are in a positive mental state about the tournament.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Good evening and welcome to Forecast First. With the monsoon season coming into effect, the temperatures across the country will be much cooler than usual tomorrow, with a highest of 30 degrees Celsius expected in the southeastern corner of the country. When looking at the map, a lot of rain activity is indicated along the coastal belt from Mana to Galle over the next 24 hours, with many districts including Jaffna, Mana, Vaunia, Anuradhapura, Kandy, Colombo, Galle and Matra as well as Hambantota. Thunder showers are also expected in some parts of the island over the next 24 hours. That's all we have from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your City by City forecast.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. But make sure you join us at 10:30 for a special discussion with the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Atul Keshap, on US policy on Sri Lanka. Have a pleasant evening and have a good night.